Ah, hello. Look at you. Still standing, still breathing, still unshaken. And look at them, the ones who swore they had you cornered, the ones who strutted around with their confidence, stitched together by attorneys, connections, hidden agreements, favors owed, and entire back rooms filled with people who were ready to pull strings on their behalf. They thought they were untouchable because they could make things happen with a signature and a phone call. They thought influence was armor. They thought intimidation would make you fold. They believed their resources alone were enough to rewrite reality. And through all of that noise, all of that swagger, all of that pressure, they forgot the one truth that has destroyed greater empires than theirs. A single miscalculated opponent can erase an entire plan. If that opponent is willing to stay dangerously authentic, they came at you with a strategy that was rehearsed, man-powered, and funded. They had teams drafting paperwork designed to choke your options. They had people whispering in back channels, shaping narratives before they even hit public eyes. They crafted stories, pulled alliances, sent messages, created the illusion that your defeat was already finalized. They genuinely believed the path was clear to erase you completely, that you would crumble under the weight of their structure. They convinced themselves you had no maneuver left. But the truth is far more satisfying. You weren't scrambling, you were watching. You weren't panicking, you were calculating. You weren't reacting. You were observing and waiting for the one moment, your moment, the single opening that would dismantle everything they built. Most people assume victory comes from matching strength with strength. They assume the only way to win is to aggressively counterattack, pile evidence on evidence, argue point by point, or fight fire with fire. But you're not most people. You don't operate from fear. You don't act from desperation. You don't dance to the rhythm someone else sets. So while they were flexing every tool they had, you were conserving energy. While they were mobilizing entire networks against you, you were sharpening one decision. While they were playing loud and wide, you were planning something narrow and precise. So precise that they didn't see it coming until everything started collapsing under its own weight. Let's break open what really happened. They played a predictable game. They used predictable tactics. Their moves, though seemingly powerful, were built on assumptions. Assumptions about you, assumptions about your reactions, assumptions about your limits, assumptions about how easily you could be intimidated. They thought dragging your name through their channels would shake your foundation. They thought their attorneys would scare you into submission. They believed their influence would box you in. They thought you would bend to pressure like everyone before you. But you didn't bend. You didn't flinch. And that's when everything shifted. Because the second a powerful opponent realizes fear isn't working, everything inside them starts to crack. Their entire strategy depends on your reaction. If you tremble, they win. If you defend yourself impulsively, they win. If you lose control, they win. If you break formation, they win. But you didn't give them anything, not fear, not panic, not compliance, not confusion. You moved with precision, not emotion. And that alone was enough to destabilize their confidence. People with influence hide behind noise. They love dramatics. They love orchestrated chaos. They love sending signals that look like dominance. But their greatest weakness is simple. They don't know what to do with someone who doesn't respond. Your stillness became a mirror. Your composure became a weapon. Every second you didn't break exposed another weakness in their narrative. And then came your move. The one decision that made every lawyer, every connection, every accomplice freeze. The one action they dismissed as impossible. The one step that was so clean, so honest, so undeniable that it split their entire strategy down the middle. You didn't retaliate. You didn't escalate. Instead, you presented something they could not corrupt or distort: clarity. You placed one piece of truth in a position they couldn't reach, and suddenly all their tactics became useless. Their paperwork contradicted itself. Their alliances started questioning their motives. Their own people began noticing inconsistencies, and your single move, something they assumed wouldn't matter, became the lever that uprooted their entire operation. Their attorneys. They saw it first. They saw how your action created gaps in the case they were so proud of. They saw how timelines didn't match, how accounts didn't align, how the documents they drafted were now exposed for what they really were: attempts to bend reality rather than reflect it. Some of them grew quiet. Some started distancing themselves. Some began subtly warning the very people who hired them that the angle wasn't just weak, it was dangerous. Lawyers don't stay loyal to sinking narratives. They stay loyal to winning ones. And you had just shifted the terrain in a way that made winning impossible for them. Then the influence circle began fracturing. All those people who once spoke confidently on behalf of your opponents, all those who once declared you defeated, all those who made backroom moves, assuming they'd never be exposed, they started withdrawing. Not because they suddenly cared about fairness, not because they felt guilty, but because public failure is contagious, and none of them wanted to be infected by it. People with high social leverage do not enjoy being associated with desperation. And desperation was exactly what your opponents began to radiate. The backdoor deals, the quiet conversations, the private messages, they all lost their impact the moment your move surfaced. The moment truth hit the air, everything they did behind the scenes became suspicious. People began asking questions. Why are you so invested in destroying this person? Why is the narrative changing every week? Why does your story contradict itself? Questions are lethal in these environments. Questions destroy illusions. Questions expose motives. And suddenly your opponents found themselves drowning in questions they couldn't answer without revealing the real reason behind their attack. Meanwhile, you kept doing the same thing you were doing before, showing up as yourself, consistently, transparently. And that's what destroyed them more than anything. Your steadiness contrasted their chaos. Your directness contrasted their manipulation. Your clarity contrasted their plotting. You didn't have to convince anyone of anything. You didn't have to justify yourself. You didn't have to beg for understanding. You simply existed in truth, and that alone burned through every story they tried to build. Let's talk about the moment they realized the nightmare was real. Not when the attorneys stepped back, not when the influence circle began distancing, not when the network started to crumble. The real moment was when they understood one brutal reality. You were never playing their game to begin with. They were fighting someone imaginary, someone predictable, reactive, fragile. But the real you were operating from a completely different angle. You weren't aiming to defeat them. You were aiming to reveal them. And that difference is what ruined them. Their panic grew louder behind closed doors. Meetings stretched late into the night. Messages became frantic. People who once spoke confidently on their behalf began avoiding involvement. Their own insiders began questioning whether the mission was worth continuing. The energy shifted from confidence to damage control, from arrogance to self-preservation. And all of this was triggered by your refusal to collapse. Let's dissect the psychology here, because this is where the real victory lies. You exposed that their power was nothing but scaffolding, only stable if no one pushed it. And your move didn't push. It simply removed the illusion that you were trapped underneath it. When a structure stands only because people believe it's strong, the moment someone reveals its fragility, it falls under its own weight, not because you toppled it, but because it was always unstable. Your opponents built their identity around being unbeatable, around having resources, influence, connections, legal tools. But those things only matter when the target bows to them. They only work when the target fears them. They only have impact when the target reacts predictably. But you didn't give them the reaction they needed. You offered them nothing to grip. And as they swung harder, your stillness made them hit themselves. That's the part they'll never recover from. That's the detail that will haunt them long after the dust settles. They didn't lose because you outmatched them materially. They lost because you outclassed them mentally. They lost because you didn't get dragged into the chaos. They lost because you stayed grounded when they were spiraling. They lost because you remained aligned when they were scrambling for direction. And the moment you made your calculated move, the entire field shifted in your favor, without you having to manipulate a single soul. This is where their downfall becomes irreversible. Their connections no longer trust their judgment. Their legal team sees the weakness. Their network sees the inconsistencies. Their credibility evaporates. And your presence, steady, composed, and undeniable, becomes the quiet center of gravity that pulls the truth into view. Now everything around them is falling apart, piece by piece, and they know exactly when it started. The moment you made that one move. They replay that moment in their heads every night, and it gets heavier each time. It's not the move itself that haunts them. It's the fact that you didn't panic while making it. You didn't fumble. You didn't hesitate. There was no trembling hand, no scattered attempts to defend yourself, no frantic reactions. You executed with a level of clarity they didn't think you possessed. And now they're sitting in the ruins of their own creation, realizing the one truth they refused to accept. Their entire plan depended on your fear. When fear didn't show up, their structure didn't just crack. It imploded. The attorneys they hired weren't cheap. They were the kind of legal professionals people brag about hiring, the kind that intimidate through reputation alone. But none of that mattered when the foundation they were asked to stand on began slipping beneath them. At first, these attorneys approached your case with confidence. They thought they were dealing with someone ordinary, someone predictable, someone easy to corner. But as the inconsistencies in the story came to light, timelines contradicting, statements shifting, evidence bending under scrutiny, the attorneys started noticing a pattern. The lies weren't supported by facts. The facts couldn't carry the weight of the claims. And your one move exposed all of it. Behind closed doors, their attorneys exchanged glances they hoped their client wouldn't see. The kind of glances professionals give when they realize they're dealing with a matter that cannot be polished, no matter how much they spin it. The kind of realization that whispers, "We can't fix this." And it's not because of the opposition, it's because our own side created an unfixable narrative. Some attorneys withdrew quietly, citing workload or conflict. But the truth was simpler. They didn't want to burn their credibility defending a collapsing client. Others stayed, but reduced their involvement, knowing the outcome was already decided by the evidence you effortlessly brought forth. And the connections, those influential figures who were once so eager to push against you, watched all this unfold from a safe distance. They saw the attorneys losing momentum. They saw the narrative beginning to crumble. They saw the inconsistencies stacking faster than the excuses. And in their world, public association is everything. If a person looks incompetent, their allies disappear before the fallout touches them. So one by one, these connections slipped away. The calls stopped being returned. The promises became vague. The once powerful supporters who claimed they would handle it suddenly claimed they needed to reevaluate the situation. You didn't chase them. You didn't remind them of the favors they once promised. You simply let them walk away, and that made your stance even stronger. Their network? That was the final thread holding the entire operation together, and your single move unraveled it with almost poetic precision. Their network thrived on group pressure, people repeating things they barely understood, backing up narratives they didn't investigate, believing whatever they were told because they had been conditioned to trust the source. But networks built on manipulation always fall when truth enters the room. And you introduced truth so quietly, so cleanly, that their entire web began to tear. Members of that network started noticing contradictions. They saw how the story changed depending on who was telling it. They saw how evidence didn't line up. They saw how every explanation required another explanation. And no matter how much their leaders tried to tighten the narrative, it kept slipping through their fingers. Some members backed out publicly, some privately, and some pretended they were never involved. But each departure weakened the structure until it finally collapsed. Meanwhile, you did nothing dramatic, nothing theatrical, no grand speeches, no emotional outbursts, no elaborate attempts to avenge yourself. You just lived with clarity, and clarity is something their entire operation lacked. That's what makes this so devastating to them. The realization that the power they believed was absolute was actually fragile. The influence they believed was unbreakable was actually conditional. And the network they believed was loyal was actually opportunistic. Let's talk about what happened internally to them, because this is where the real collapse begins. When people who rely on influence start losing grip of their audience, they don't simply accept defeat. They spiral. They become frantic behind closed doors. They try to repair what can't be repaired. They start demanding loyalty from people who only supported them out of convenience. They call emergency meetings. They rewrite stories. They blame everyone but themselves. And most importantly, they start obsessing over the person who disrupted everything. You. It's not obsession born from revenge anymore. It's obsession born from confusion. They don't understand how someone with fewer resources, fewer connections, fewer protections, and less influence managed to break a structure they believed was invincible. They can't process that your victory came not from fighting harder, but from refusing to engage in their chaos. They expected a battle. You gave them reflection, and reflection shows truth with no filter. That truth was simple. Your move didn't just expose their lies, it exposed their weakness. And weakness in positions of influence is fatal. Their downfall spreads like cracks through a frozen lake. Slow at first, then instant. They lose control of the narrative. They lose the confidence of their allies. They lose the certainty they once had. Every attempt to regain momentum makes them look more unsteady. Every attempt to clarify their story makes it more convoluted. And every attempt to explain away the inconsistencies makes people question their motives even more. Now imagine the internal pressure they feel watching you continue forward while they sink. You didn't lose sleep. You didn't lose alignment. You didn't lose your voice. You didn't lose your path. You simply kept moving. And that calm progression from you is what shatters them. People like them can fight opponents who argue. They can fight opponents who panic. They can fight opponents who react emotionally. But they cannot fight someone who is grounded. They cannot fight someone who is certain. And most importantly, they cannot fight someone who doesn't crumble under intimidation. When you made that one move, you shifted the entire dynamic. Suddenly, they weren't the hunters. They weren't the ones in control. They weren't the ones dictating the outcome. They became exposed, vulnerable, and desperate. And the more desperate they became, the more mistakes they made. This is where your victory becomes absolute. Not because you pushed them over the edge, but because they ran off the edge themselves, trying to chase an illusion of control. Let's dissect the emotional collapse they experienced. Before your move, they were confident. They believed they had the advantage. They believed everything was in their favor. They believed they had boxed you in so tightly that escape was impossible. And then your move happened. One step, one decision, one moment of clarity, and suddenly everything they believed evaporated. Confidence turned into uncertainty. Uncertainty turned into anxiety. Anxiety turned into distress. Distress turned into obsession, and obsession turned into self-destruction. It wasn't just a loss, it was a collapse of identity. People with influence measure themselves by their ability to control outcomes. When they lose control, they lose themselves. And your move didn't just remove their control. It exposed that they never really had any to begin with. They had leverage, yes, but leverage only works on people willing to bend. They had influence, yes, but influence only works on people who seek approval. They had strategies, yes, but strategies only work on people who play within the lines. You didn't bend, you didn't seek, you didn't play. That's what ruined them. And now, watching everything crumble, they feel something far heavier than defeat. They feel humiliation, not the kind that fades, the kind that stains reputations, lingers in conversations, clings to their name long after the situation is over, the kind that makes allies hesitate, the kind that makes enemies smirk, the kind that follows them into every room, every call, every meeting. They can't hide from it because everyone saw the collapse in real time. Everyone watched them flex influence and then lose everything to someone they underestimated. People talk, and the most powerful conversations happen in whispers, behind curtains, in private exchanges where reputations are decided. Those whispers aren't in their favor anymore. They are the topic of what went wrong. They are the warning of don't make their mistake. They are the lesson of power doesn't matter if you can't manage yourself. People who once admired them now question their judgment. People who once trusted them now analyze their motives. People who once followed them now keep a distance. And through all of this, you remain steady. That's the contrast that seals their fate. Your steadiness amplifies their collapse. Your clarity exposes their chaos. Your resilience highlights their fragility. You didn't have to destroy them. They destroyed themselves. Because your existence revealed what they truly were. And now, with nothing left to hide behind, they face a realization that cuts deeper than any legal defeat or social backlash. They lost to someone who refused to lower themselves to their level. They lost to someone who didn't need influence to be heard. They lost to someone who didn't need connections to stand firm. They lost to someone who didn't need hidden deals to navigate pressure. They lost to someone who didn't need manipulation to make an impact. They lost to someone who didn't fight because truth did the work for them. Now comes the part that terrifies them the most. Your move wasn't designed to destroy them. It wasn't even designed to counter them. It was simply aligned with your truth, and that truth was stronger than all the resources they gathered. That truth was louder than all the narratives they crafted. That truth was sharper than all the tools they tried to use against you. Their world revolved around control. Your world revolved around clarity, and clarity always wins, not through aggression, but through inevitability of outcome. They can't fight clarity. They can't manipulate it. They can't corrupt it. And they can't overpower someone who stands firmly in it. So now they sit in the aftermath, surrounded by remnants of strategies that failed, surrounded by people who no longer want to be associated with them, surrounded by the consequences of their own miscalculations, surrounded by the echoes of their own arrogance. And every piece of that collapse points back to you. More painfully, it points back to a single moment from you. One move, one decision, one act of precision. That's all it took. They spent weeks planning, months preparing, and countless resources gathering their arsenal. They crafted documents. They hosted meetings. They whispered in corners. They strategized attacks. They rehearsed narratives. But none of that mattered, because the entire structure was flawed at the root. And your move didn't create the flaw, it revealed it. This is where the shift intensifies. They finally understand that you weren't backing down. You weren't intimidated. You weren't shaken. You weren't playing defense. You were letting them exhaust themselves. You let them expose their own weaknesses. You let them show the world who they really were. You let them unravel their own credibility. And when the right moment came, you punctured the illusion with a single strike. Now the consequences multiply. Their influence circle, it's gone. Or worse, it's turned into a ring of observers who are analyzing their downfall like a case study. People are documenting the errors. People are discussing the collapse. People are evaluating every step that led to their destruction. And none of those steps point to you. They point to the desperation that consumed them. Their legal team completely retreating. They're not interested in salvaging this anymore. They know the fire is too big. They know the damage is irreversible. They know no argument, no tactic, no angle can salvage a narrative that was already collapsing before you even responded. Their network scattered, completely fractured. Each person pulling away to protect their own name. Each member trying to distance themselves from the chaos. Some even switching sides, not out of loyalty to you, but out of recognition that siding with truth is safer than siding with desperation. And you, still steady, still centered, still untouched. That's what devastates them the most. You didn't just outmaneuver their resources, you revealed the emptiness behind those resources. You showed that influence does not equal integrity, that power does not equal stability, that connections do not equal strength. You showed that the strongest person in any confrontation is the one who doesn't need to pretend. And here's the turning point, the part where their collapse evolves into something deeper. They now understand that your move wasn't luck. It wasn't accidental. It wasn't reactionary. It was intentional. It was calibrated. It was timed with precision. It was executed without hesitation. And now they ask themselves questions they don't want to answer. What else does this person know? What else can they do? How did we not see this coming? What other moves have they prepared but haven't used yet? How do we stop someone who destroyed everything with one decision? They don't have answers, and that is exactly why their panic grows. They fear the silence between your actions. They fear the clarity in your demeanor. They fear the strength in your restraint. They fear the fact that you didn't use force. Because if one quiet move defeated them, what would happen if you ever decided to apply pressure? They don't want to imagine that. They don't want to think about what else you're capable of. They don't want to confront the idea that you're 3 steps ahead while they're scrambling to repair the damage from a battle you didn't even show up to. This is the part where their downfall becomes not just irreversible, but instructional. They learn the hard way that influence cannot overpower authenticity. They learn that hidden deals cannot overpower alignment. They learn that backroom strategies cannot overpower transparency. They learn that pressure cannot overpower clarity. And they learn that a single person standing firmly in truth can dismantle an entire network built on false narratives. Your move wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It wasn't meant to impress. It was meant to reveal. And reveal it did. Every weak foundation, every manipulated detail, every dishonest tactic, every fabricated storyline, every compromised ally. You didn't just wipe them out. You exposed that they were already falling apart long before you stepped in. Your move was simply the moment the world noticed. You become the reference point, the moment people replay when they talk about collapse, when they discuss unraveling, when they explain how pressure exposes character. Your move turned into the line where their identity as untouchable snapped in half. Their influence didn't weaken over time. It shattered instantly the moment truth surfaced. And the beauty of this collapse is that it wasn't imposed on them. It was triggered. Their downfall came from their own hands, their own decisions, their own arrogance. You didn't force anything. You didn't manipulate outcomes. You didn't pull strings. You simply stood inside truth long enough for their lies to run out of breath. Now they're left standing in front of the wreckage, trying to understand how everything slipped away so fast. People like them always believe the world owes them a soft landing. They expect backup plans to catch them. They expect allies to shield them. They expect resources to be enough. But not this time. Not against you. Because every backup plan they relied on became useless once you delivered your one decisive move. Their allies didn't shield them, they vanished. Their resources didn't protect them, they exposed contradictions. Their reputation didn't soften the blow, it intensified the glare of their failure. And every person watching now sees them clearly for the first time. You didn't just defeat them, you redefined them. Before you, they were seen as powerful. After you, they're seen as careless, unstrategic, predictable, and deeply fragile. Before you, people followed their lead unquestioned. After you, people question everything they say. Before you, their influence opened doors. After you, their name triggers hesitation. Not because you tarnished them, but because they used their power irresponsibly, and the world finally saw it. Your move didn't just dismantle their plan, it exposed their entire pattern. This is the part they didn't prepare for. They prepared for resistance, not exposure. They prepared for conflict, not reflection. They prepared for a fight, not a mirror. They had no strategy for being seen accurately, and that accuracy is what breaks them. Because once accuracy hits someone who built their identity on projection, there is no recovery. They don't know how to stand without validation. They don't know how to operate without advantage. They don't know how to breathe without narrative control. And now, stripped of all these external supports, they can't function. You, on the other hand, haven't changed. Your posture is the same. Your voice is steady. Your direction is intact. Your clarity is unshaken. That consistency makes your victory even more powerful, because it proves that the chaos they created was never inside you. It was inside them. You were not the unstable variable in their story. They were. You were not the unpredictable force. They were. Their entire attack was built on assumptions that had nothing to do with your real character. And that disconnect is what destroyed them. Their lawyers now sit in meeting rooms discussing what went wrong. They analyze documents they once believed were airtight, now realizing each one contained tiny fractures, that your truth widened into chasms. Their influence circle replays conversations, realizing how they willingly supported a narrative that didn't stand up to scrutiny. Their network scans old messages, noticing the red flags they ignored. Their allies privately regret ever getting involved. And every one of these realizations strikes at the core of their identity. Because people in positions of influence can't handle being wrong publicly. They can't handle being exposed privately. And they cannot handle being defeated by someone they underestimated. You weren't supposed to win. You weren't supposed to stand. You weren't supposed to make that move. But you did. And that act rewrote everything. Let's explore what your victory truly means. Because it's deeper than reputation or resources. It's about psychological dominance, the kind earned through endurance, not aggression. The kind that emerges from clarity, not chaos. The kind that comes from being anchored, not reactive. They spent everything trying to knock you off your center. But every attempt only highlighted how firmly you were rooted. They came with attorneys. You came with alignment. They came with pressure. You came with precision. They came with a narrative. You came with truth. They came with a network. You came with a move. And the impact of that contrast is what ended them. Now they carry the weight of their own decisions. And it's heavy. Heavier than they expected. They thought pressure was something they applied, not something they would experience. But now they carry the pressure of public scrutiny, private guilt, internal confusion, fractured alliances, and the loss of control that once defined them. Every person they once impressed now watches them with reservation. Every person who once supported them now questions their motives. Every person who once followed their lead now wonders what else they fabricated. It's not just defeat, it's recalibration. They were repositioned by their own actions, and the placement isn't flattering. They are no longer seen as leaders. They are seen as manipulators who couldn't sustain their own illusion. They are no longer seen as powerful. They are seen as reckless individuals who overestimated their reach. They are no longer seen as authoritative. They are seen as emotional amateurs who couldn't handle resistance. And all of this changed because you stayed right where you were meant to be, unmoved. This is what they failed to understand from the beginning. Strength isn't the absence of challenge. Strength is the refusal to break under it. You didn't break. You didn't fold. You didn't crumble. You watched. You analyzed. You waited. And when the timing was right, you delivered the move that aligned everything into place. A single, calculated step. Not forceful, not reactive, not reckless, clean, sharp, final. And because of that, you now stand in a position they can't reach, a position above tactics, a position above manipulation, a position above fear, a position above doubt, a position above them. Your move didn't just end their strategy, it ended their confidence. They can never again see themselves as invincible. They can never again trust the strength of their influence. They can never again assume that pulling strings will solve their problems. They can never again look at you the same way. And the discomfort of that is what keeps them up at night. Let's look at what happens to people when their identity collapses. First, they search for a scapegoat. They blame everyone around them, lawyers, advisors, allies, circumstances. But the one person they won't blame, the one truth they cannot accept, is that their failure came from inside. Because if they admit that, they must face the fact that their entire foundation was built on insecurity, disguised as power. And they're not emotionally equipped for that level of honesty. So they avoid it, they deny it, they rewrite it. But no matter how hard they try, the evidence remains. Your single move exposed everything they worked to hide. Then comes the second stage, resentment. Not toward the people who abandoned them, not toward the advisors who misled them, not toward the strategies that failed, but toward you. Not because you wronged them, but because you reminded them of what they are not. You reminded them of discipline. You reminded them of clarity. You reminded them of strength. You reminded them of stability. You reminded them of restraint. And these reminders cut deeper than any legal defeat ever could. Because when a person sees someone embodying qualities they lack, it magnifies their emptiness. Finally comes the third stage, submission. Quiet, unspoken, unacknowledged. They won't admit it in public, but internally they know they cannot touch you anymore. They know you see through them. They know you cannot be manipulated. They know you cannot be controlled. They know your clarity is stronger than their connections. And because of that, they know approaching you again is a losing game. You took away their advantage without lifting a finger. And here is the part that seals the ending. The world no longer fears them, but they fear you. Not because you're aggressive, not because you're vengeful, not because you're powerful in the traditional sense. They fear you because you have something they cannot replicate: internal alignment. When a person acts from alignment, they become impossible to corner. Pressure rolls off them, lies lose power over them, manipulation cannot sway them, and attacks only expose the attacker. You operate from that center. They operate from desperation, and desperation always loses. You didn't just survive their strategy. You dismantled an entire hierarchy of influence by being the one person who didn't bow to it. You didn't hide when they tried to bury you. You didn't defend yourself when they tried to distort you. You didn't panic when they tried to overwhelm you. You didn't react when they tried to provoke you. And that self-control broke them more deeply than any counterattack could. Your single move didn't just end their plan. It ended the image they built of themselves. It ended the false authority they projected. It ended the illusion that they were above consequences. And as you walk forward, they remain stuck behind, replaying their errors like a loop that won't stop spinning. You left them with the one thing people like them cannot handle: consequences with no escape route. And now, standing in the aftermath, breathing in the clarity you've earned, something else becomes undeniable. This wasn't just a win. This wasn't just a reversal. This wasn't just a collapse. This was a full redefinition of who holds power. They had everything stacked in their favor: lawyers, influence, backdoor deals, networks, strategies, alliances, money, manipulation, pressure. And still, one calculated move from you ended their entire story. You weren't supposed to be their downfall. You weren't supposed to be their obstacle. You weren't supposed to be their turning point. But that's what happens when someone moves with precision. And deep down, they now understand the truth they feared most. You didn't defeat them. You revealed them. And that revelation will follow them for the rest of their lives. Because once you've been exposed by truth, there is no rebuilding the old identity. There is no returning to who you were. There is no recovering the illusion. They are no longer the powerful ones. They are the example of what happens when arrogance meets clarity, of what happens when manipulation meets alignment, of what happens when influence meets integrity, of what happens when pressure meets someone who cannot be bent. And as you walk past the ruins of their collapse, one final realization settles into the dust behind you. A person who stands firmly in truth doesn't need an army. They don't need allies. They don't need influence. They don't need backdoor deals. They don't need lawyers. They need one move, executed at the right time, and you made that move. That's why you're untouchable now. That's why the story ends with you standing tall. And that's why their entire empire fell at your feet. That single moment was enough to rewrite everything.